I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We start off with public comments, and Beth Vanderens, you are first on the list.
I wanted to raise the possibility of the town exploring noise ordinance, in particular as it relates to gardeners and to construction sites. There are some towns around us that have no noise ordinances in place. In particular, Southampton has put together a moratorium on gas blown leaf blowers, hard to say, from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And I thought we could explore the possibility of not eradicating any noise, but confining it to acceptable civilized times, such as 9 to 5, or maybe not on the weekends, or some sort of variation of that. Questions?
When's the last time this came up? Recently.
Yeah, I just bring it
years
up.
ago?
No, I brought it up last year at some point.
Yeah.
And at
it's
the
recently.
time, yeah, and nobody wanted to pick it up at that point in time.
That's why I'm here today.
Yes.
Yes, that's one way.
Did you have some idea of what you thought would be good times, or what would be a proposal that you would think about?
Well, I thought it might be reasonable to say weekdays, 9 to 5, or 9 to 6. Weekends, no, because people come here to get away from noise and fracas, and they do not want to hear it here on the weekends. So that could be a start of a possibility.
And I think you spelled that out in your email to us. I didn't get a chance to respond, but I did see it as I was catching up.
Yeah, I understand work has to be done, but the houses here are kind of close together. And if Southampton has the ordinance, they're very far apart. I just think we should have something here, because I called the police at 7:30 in the morning saying, do I have to be woken up by this lawnmower next, it was something, I don't know what it was. And they said there's no ordinance in place, so yes. I'm happy to help do some research on it. Other towns have done decibel ratings depending on what particular noise is being emanated. That's, I understand it takes work and a little bit of research, and probably talking with people who make the noise to see what they could work within. But it has to be done because it's sort of open season on, residents here. Nice and quiet.
One concern I have in what you proposed so far is just on the weekends, you have some working people who mow their own lawns, and that's the only chance that they can get to mow their lawns is on weekends.
Yeah.
So I'm just throw that out there.
Yeah. So there's got to be some medium, maybe they can intend to something that's not 7:30 on Sunday morning.
Supervisor, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve. Didn't recognize.
I'm in the car, so
Okay.
I apologize for that. But 2 points. First, the reason some municipalities use decibel levels is that what you want to avoid is a law that's unconstitutionally vague. The old-fashioned way of designing a noise ordinance is to say, if it makes unreasonable noise, or if it makes noise that would be disturbing to a reasonable person, that's unconstitutionally vague because it doesn't give adequate notice of what conduct is prohibited. The other point I wanted to make about people who mow their own lawns on the weekends, a distinction can be made between commercial landscapers and someone mowing their own lawn. That distinction can be made so that you can reduce the noise by eliminating the commercial landscapers, but allow people to mow their lawns on the weekends during whatever stated hours the board chooses.
Great, thank you for that.
May I say one more thing? The landscaping vehicles park in a menacing way that are sometimes very dangerous on Gardner's Bay Drive They block an entire lane on a blind hill so that you don't know if you're gonna die or make it around their truck. So that could be another thing that we could address. They have to park considerately. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Let me know if I can help.
Is there anyone in the fiscal audience who wishes to make a public comment? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, then we will move on to our agenda items. And first up is USGS saltwater intrusion monitoring well update. Picked this up a couple weeks ago, discussed it a little bit, and you were going to meet with them, so.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Last week,
Yeah.
I met with two representatives from USGS, and we discussed a few siting locations for saltwater monitoring wells. We talked a little bit more in depth about the scope, extent, and purpose of their program. Deputy Supervisor Meg Larson joined us for a portion of the visit. We examined sites here largely in the center. A big purpose of their visit is to incorporate Shelter Island into a broader regional study. So there's federal funding now to install a series of monitoring wells throughout Suffolk County and with a specific focus on the east end of Long Island. The USGS is looking to install 2 wells on the island. We looked at 2 locations. The purpose of these 2 wells is to monitor the interface and relationship between our freshwater aquifer and the saltwater below it. The 2 locations for consideration are supposed to find an area near the center, the deepest part of the aquifer, and the second location will be at the periphery of the island. That was somewhat new. We had thought we were looking for 1, but they confirmed that they're now looking for 2 locations. Those 2 locations are going to work in tandem for the study. So they're going to be monitoring simultaneously what's happening at the shallow periphery well location and also what's happening at the deep center location to better understand the relationship between our saltwater and freshwater boundaries. The 2 locations specifically that we're considering are down at Wades Beach. That's the periphery well location. That's going to be a shallower well because the freshwater lens is so thin there, they can access the saltwater below quite quickly. And we're looking at a space that's off to the side of the parking lot in the grassy area, which I understand was formerly a volleyball court, but it's not really currently used for anything except auxiliary parking sometimes. It's an unpaved area. That well will be put down at grade. There's no accessory structures that have to support this, so it's effectively not visible if you didn't know it was there. In fact, some concerns that the USGS has is that they lose these things over time because they get buried and they're unmarked. So there's no real impact specifically down at Wades Beach. I think it's a very suitable location. The center location is supposed to target specifically the highest point as possible in our watershed. And they're looking for a deep section of the aquifer. So we're offering up town properties for consideration here in the center. We looked at this property here. We looked at the property adjacent. We talked about the school property. We talked about Sachem's Woods. That is their preference, Sachem's Woods, from the USGS. Hydrologically, they would like to put the deep water monitoring well there. They think the location within the aquifer is ideal. They also were very attracted to the idea that that property is not used for anything. They want this well to last for a long time. It should be in service for many decades. So the idea that you would put it in a property like our town hall property here where there's a lot of traffic, or that it's maybe a dynamic property where you may erect something on the lot next door. They're not so interested in properties like that because it poses a risk to the long-term serviceability of the well. So we looked at Sachem's Woods specifically, the parcel, to see if there was any extensive clearing that needed to be done. And for the most part, that's not the case. We would just have to widen the entry path that currently services the walking trail so that they could fit a truck through. But there's already some clearing area that they would think is suitable for the drilling, so we wouldn't have to take down many trees, if at all. Just a couple in the path off 114 to widen the access. So nothing's set in stone yet. They haven't offered up a written agreement that would memorialize the terms of this for the town, but that will be forthcoming. They let me know that it would be fairly brief, 1 or 2 page type agreement. They also would like the drilling contractor to come and take a look at these sites to confirm that they think these are suitable for their assets and their equipment. So that's scheduled to happen in 2 weeks. That I'll be meeting with the drilling contractor and USGS again to look at these sites and hone in more specifically on their work plan. That'd be an opportunity for me to take any questions that you guys have to them and shore up this agreement.
So where's the access into Sachems, off of 114 or Midway?
Off of 114. Yeah,
For the Islander on the
Yeah.
left.
just adjacent to the Islander, yeah. Yeah, the opposite side of the parcel is the entrance to the Islander parking lot, so closer to the building.
Did you talk to? Sorry, when they mentioned that location, did you talk to them about the fact that that location is in the mix for a lot of other considerations?
The Sachems Wood site?
Yes.
To what extent do you mean exactly?
Well, I mean, if for some reason after we complete our analysis, we think that we need a new water supply for the public buildings up here in the center, could be an option.
That would have no impact to, or no meaningful impact. Their study would have no meaningful impact to any long-term plans that we would consider for that site. It's a monitoring well, so it cannot be converted to a production well. So it has no sphere of influence in terms of extraction or withdrawal. We're also looking at a location that's quite close to the street for this monitoring well. So even if it did, have some sort of a setback requirement, which it doesn't at present, it wouldn't interfere with any meaningful layout for the rest of the property. It's 35 acres, I think, or something like that. And I'm not even sure we would have traversed the first acre by the time we would have placed this from the spot that we're considering now.
Also, jumping to Wade's Beach. I don't remember a volleyball court. There's that old bocce court, pedank court behind the bathrooms, or is it over on the other side by the kayak rack?
It's immediately to the right when you pull in the parking lot.
Oh,
By
okay.
the entry
Got
route.
It's not by the bathroom.
So it's like, yeah, it's out of the way.
Yeah, so it's not near the kayak rack and it's not near the bathroom.
Behind the sign.
It's behind the sign, yeah.
Okay.
And again, that one would be, low visibility, and the same for Sachems Woods. In fact, there they proposed actually, leaving it a few feet up with like a sign or something to mark it because of the tree canopy and whatnot, but just so that it's visible, not because it requires any extra support facility. Like I said, there's no building that's around it or wires that go to it or anything like that.
Just so it doesn't get lost.
So it doesn't get lost. Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Anyone on Zoom?
I would just ask, at this juncture, does the board have any reservations about moving forward with this? Because if there's the possibility that we wouldn't move forward, or there's any circumstances that would cause a hangup, it would be beneficial to know now. The USGS is offering this to us at no cost, and they have a limited window to execute this project. So if we were not going to partner with them, I would want to communicate that to them as soon as possible so that they could not lose the funding and have an opportunity to reallocate it someplace else to another township or partner. I hope that's not the case, but it would be important to try and manage that relationship if there was a reason that you think we wouldn't move forward.
It's only a benefit to us.
Yeah.
I certainly think so, yeah.
You're all in agreement, yeah.
So the well is strictly for, it's not for contaminants, it's for basically determining saltwater intrusion, is that
Well,
correct?
it's a monitoring well, so it can be outfitted for different types of testing. This one in particular will be outfitted for chloride monitoring. But that equipment could change, could sample the well and use it, for a water quality test, things like that. But it's not it could never serve as a production well. Okay,
Good to go.
thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, next, making sure Steve is still on, okay, good, is a local law to abolish the office of town attorney. And Steve, I wanted you to just give an overview as to what this means and why we're doing it.
Sure. The town attorney, if it is established as an officer of the town, cannot serve at the will of the town board. But if the town attorney is either an employee or an independent contractor, as distinguished from a town officer, then that town attorney serves in whatever capacity the town board chooses. And so the town code doesn't actually have an article entitled town attorney establishing it as an office, but sometimes, but sprinkled throughout the code, there are references to the town attorney. So in order to eliminate any ambiguity, this law would explicitly state that there is no office of town attorney in the town of Shelter Island. That, of course, leaves the town free to engage whatever counsel it wishes and for whatever purpose and on whatever terms it wishes to do so. So that is it in a nutshell.
I was looking on the state comptroller's website, and it seemed as if we could do that without enacting this. But I'm not a lawyer and didn't do a deeper dive, so I'm just trying to understand what's the benefits and what are the pitfalls of going this route.
Well, my intention was to eliminate ambiguity. There is a doctrine of legislative equivalence that says that when something is done with a certain degree of formality, in order to undo it, you need to use the same degree of formality. We have not searched through the town's records to determine whether there was ever a local law establishing the town attorney as an officer of the town, but I thought that this method covered all bases. We can certainly, if you wish, instead to do it as a resolution, we can restyle it as a resolution.
Meaning no.
We wouldn't have
Public
to,
hearing.
yeah, we wouldn't have a public hearing, although I always feel like it's something in town law is easier to find than something in resolution. Right.
There's no reason not to have a public hearing, so.
Right, yeah, it is raising questions in the community. So that were you said the benefits, any pitfalls?
I'm sorry?
You went over the benefit of eliminating ambiguity, but are there any pitfalls that we should be aware of?
Not insofar as I can imagine. You will still have whatever counsel serving in whatever capacity you wish.
Any other questions?
You do not have any?
Nope.
Let's move forward. I think it's a good thing.
So Amber will we'll set the public hearing on June 30th and have it in July 21st. Next agenda item is WQI rebate for raffle lock at 21 Stearns Point
I'm
Road.
going to
Yes,
recuse
I was going to
myself
say, yeah.
because I helped him with his application.
Okay. We'll call you back in when we're done.
Yep.
Albert, since were you at the WQI meeting to go over this, or?
Yes, the system is failing. He's located on Stearns Point Road, part of the West Neck Water District, so there will be no chance of a well relocation need for that. So they just fixed the base grant at 12,000. And it was unanimously approved.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. All right, so we can put that on for resolution on June 30th. Did you help me? Thanks. Okay, first, we have 2 outdoor assembly permits, but number 5 on the agenda is the outdoor assembly permit for the craft fair. To summarize, it's being sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. The location will be at the school. It looks to be at the same location as prior years, with vendors over on the 114 side of the street, the Green Expo on the School Street side, a food truck in the parking area on the School Street side. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to double check my emails. Did you usually look on these? Or I guess Jim Reed can notice if they had any concerns or questions.
They did not.
Yeah.
Chief is on.
Yeah, oh, and I forgot to say, August 23rd.
Part of the Green Expo.
Hey, Chief.
This is just a.
We're good. We're prepared to handle it as we usually do.
Okay,
That's what Ken said earlier too.
okay.
One thing that came up last year that was kind of problematic was the location of the food truck. Because it was parked right in front of all the tables, all the exhaust was blowing into the vendors and the people manning the tables. So there was, we were trying to figure out if there's a better spot for it. I mean, I think even if it was on the other side of the street, so it was just a little further away, but because it was right up against the sidewalk, it was really problematic for some of the vendors. It was really stinky and people were getting headaches. And so we were thinking, even if we moved it across the street, just so that there was some more space. And I mean, unfortunately, that makes it so people are crossing the street. But there was a thought that maybe we could just close School Street for that part of the day, just, maybe even just for like 10 to 3 or something, so that it wouldn't be so on top of everybody. Chief, what do you think of that?
Not a problem. We're used to closing School Street between those areas. We do it for the 10K. We do it at other times when there's spillover events that cross over from the school property to our town community center property. So I would have no problem with that at all. You just, I guess you're going to talk to the event planner and we'll work together on that. I have no problem.
Yeah, okay, that would be nice. Yeah, if we just close it, after the school parking lots, people could go in, park, and then leave the handicap area open and then block it off. And then block it off so people can't turn in from the roundabout. That should give us space to move the food trucks to the other side and give everyone a little breathing room.
It's good practice for public safety on that road anyways. Anybody spilling off of 114 is moving along. So where we have crossover between the school and the community center, it makes a lot of sense even without the food trucks.
Okay, thank you.
A little ironic that it goes on at the Green Expo. Any prevailing wind is out of the southwest. I don't know if.
Well, there was no wind that day and it was just stinky.
Okay.
But I think that would solve the problem. It would just give us flexibility in citing them. Like, there you go.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to, which is
Yeah.
just reserve some flexibility, because if the wind is blowing that unfortunate angle, then you want to move it somewhere else anyway.
Yeah, and the only other thought I had was the Green Expo, just if we could open up the pathway a little bit. The
Yeah.
tables were right on the sidewalk, and so when people stopped to talk to the various tables, there was a little bit of a bottleneck.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do that. We noticed the same thing. There's like a crazy slope there on the side going towards the school, so we're gonna come up with ways to fix that.
Any other board comments? Public? Zoom? Okay, we can put that on for June 30th resolution. You're just flying through the agenda today. Okay, I'm going to just, since we're on outdoor assembly permits, I'm going to just go to the next one, which is the Sunset Beach Giorgio Armani outdoor assembly permit. Originally, they had just sent an email, but then we requested that they fill out an outdoor assembly permit.
Had no diagrams in it, by the way.
There's what?
No.
I'm working.
It's supposed to have like a diagram and
Oh,
stuff, so
that was, yeah, it was in the
it
email.
wasn't super helpful.
There's a picture in the email
Yeah.
of what it would look like. Here.
Oh, you know, it's, yeah,
Okay.
well,
Yeah. But I see that we do have Alexandra on. Oh, and it looks like also Christopher Arundel, if I'm saying that correctly.
Indeed.
Would you like to walk us through this?
Absolutely, it would be my pleasure. Thanks so much for having us all. My name is Chris Aramble. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Giorgio Armani. We are partnering with Sunset Beach on a summer activity, July 24th through July 27th. Part of the proposal is to replace the chairs and the umbrellas that they typically provide to their hotel guests with our own chairs and umbrellas, which will coordinate with the visual elements that we're installing at the hotel. So our understanding based on our partnership with the hotel is that there's an agreement that the guests of the hotel have an allocated number of chairs and umbrellas during the summer months, and this is really a color switch. So instead of the orange chairs and the orange umbrellas, for the 24th through the 27th, you'll see white chairs and palm printed umbrellas.
so there'll be no, I mean, we went through this a couple of years ago. I wasn't on the board, but it was when you did the partnership with Chanel and Billie Eilish came, and I know about it because I have a daughter and I was forced to go there to look for Billie Eilish. Okay. And back then, originally the party was on the beach, and then I guess the town board had a problem with it, and you moved it back to the hotel, and everything was fine. So I just want to make sure that there's no party on the beach this year.
There is. So I don't work for Chanel and I don't work for Sunset Beach, but I can tell you, I see Manolos here from Sunset Beach. I can guarantee you that Giorgio Armani is not hosting a party on the beach.
Okay.
I did that once in my career, and it was the hardest and most complicated thing I've ever experienced.
Okay.
And I'm very happy to expand on that, if I may, because I was here for that said event with Chanel as well. So in our collaboration with Chris from Armani, in the art of transparency, we just wanted to bring to your attention that our color scheme on the beach for those days in question will change a little bit. It has no impact for what else is happening on the beach. And in fact, the cocktail party that Chris will be hosting with us is of a much smaller scale. And their intended use of Sunset Beach is more related to our retail space, which is the little side shop of the parking lot. So we will just look slightly different with the allocated beach chairs that we sell out, because we have sold our hotel rooms to one specific client. Just for clarification and clear communication, I suggested to Chris that this was the right forum to just bring it up.
You normally put out a certain number of umbrellas and chairs and then put out more as guests come out and need to use them. Are you going to follow that same procedure, or are you going to put out like the full array of equipment that you have?
There will be no quantity changes to the space that we use at the beach. We are still limited to the fact that we do have 20 hotel rooms, right? So at full occupancy in our hotel, that means I would at no point have more than 40 guests here with us. Rarely do they visit the beach at the same time. So the intention is to start off with the same amount of chairs in the morning as we always do. And should it be a very popular beach day and there's high demand, then we will add as needed. And then we also remove as needed once people retreat after the hours on the beach.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the table?
How many chairs and umbrellas are normally on the beach? What's the arrangement that we have? What's the,
We'll let Manolo speak to that.
Yeah, so the way that we start right now, we always set them up in pairs of two, so that 2 beach chairs is covered by 1 umbrella. This signifies pretty much 1 guest room at Sunset Beach. That means on a morning where it's a nice beach day, we typically start by setting up for 4 rooms, meaning 8 chairs, right? Those are little stations that we set. Should the demand be so that our hotel guests visit the beach at the same time, then we grow as needed up to 10 stations of 2 chairs. We will be the 20 guests, and normally that covers it. As I said previously, we don't have any more than 40 guests at the hotel at any time, right? So the maximum setup would be up to 20 umbrellas.
Okay.
and the public uses, forget this event, but normally the public is allowed to use those chairs? The way it exists right now at Sunset Beach, the chairs that are out there and the umbrellas, is that open to the public to use?
That's always been my understanding. I think generally the public doesn't use the chairs because they're not staying at the hotel,
Yeah.
but.
So essentially what we do is we do have an attendant who sets up and breaks down, who is employed to maintain the area on the beach that we utilize. So now that attendant is equipped with an in-house guest list. So those names of hotel guest lists or hotel guest names is who has priority for those beach chairs that are put out. Should we have available chairs that are not occupied by hotel guests, then anyone from the community can request with our plagiste, as they are called, to have a seat as with anyone else. Obviously, we don't have enough chairs nearly to accommodate for all beach goers that goes to the area. So it will still be within the perimeter of staying in between those 2 staircases that leads down to the beach where we operate. But they are equally available to community as they are to our guests, but we prioritize the names that we have from our actual hotel guest list.
I just I wasn't so much concerned about this, but what is a normal arrangement? I'm not a beachgoer, so if someone from the public is on the beach today, they are allowed to use those beach chairs? I guess that's the question I'm asking.
They would check in with Sunset Beach and request to be able to use them.
That's
And
correct.
And also the public does intersperse around the beach chairs as well and set up their own chairs and blankets.
Small request, and feel free to ignore this, but going forward, can you use any other word except takeover? It has caused much consternation in the community.
I am so sorry. That is the fault of Giorgio Armani. I take full responsibility. We describe everything as a takeover, including like a 10 a.m. meeting. Sorry about that.
Maybe rebranding for a day or
We're
something.
going to rebrand. This is our first time at a town board work session. So we're
Rebrand is
learning a lot.
great. Rebrand's a great word. Takeover has people making placards in their garage to come protest.
Understood.
Yeah, I was on vacation and started getting text messages.
Oh, yeah.
Are we gonna have them fill out an assembly permit or?
They did.
They did
Yeah,
already?
we
Yes, we got it.
It's not complete, but it will be, I guess, never.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
I mean, it kind of, the picture that we got in the first email goes with the application, and then it kind of, that demonstrates the map that
Sure designated space.
it doesn't, yeah, and it's in their beach area.
Just a quick question. Will they also be changing the branding of the hotel restaurant? Will they take down the Sunset Beach signs and put up Giorgio Armani signs and awnings and things like that?
It's not entirely to the previous scale that you might have might remember from the Chanel, but we will do a few aesthetic changes. That is our signage, for example. We will have a sign that is incorporating Armani's brand next to our brand for the retail store. There will be side by side. There will just be popped over our sign for the duration of the event. Color scheme wise, we have been painting a lot of our facade pre-season so that we are less orange than we were. So we will appear less orange from the parking lot side and the front, and that's it. Awnings will remain intact, so no visible changes from the distance and from both.
Okay.
Well, this, we appreciate the heads up. I mean, technically, there really isn't anything that would require a permit per se. It's not an unusual use of the space. It's just a change of color scheme. So technically, I don't think they actually need a permit, but we do appreciate them coming forward and letting us know and explaining to the public what's happening so that nobody's surprised or shocked when the event does occur.
And just to underscore, in general, Sunset Beach has been pretty cooperative with the town over the years. And I would just want to say we appreciate that. And, let's keep the relationship a good one.
The feeling is mutual. Thank you.
There's no more board questions. Any questions from the public? Or do you-
I guess a question to the board is, and it has nothing to do with this particular event, but this is this firm now. What happens if it becomes a venue that it becomes other things? Let's say Google comes to Shelter Island, and they take over with how does the board feel about it? These signs and umbrellas changing on a somewhat regular basis. I mean, I'm just asking the question.
It's just a color change, like they could
Yeah.
put out new umbrellas every year, every week. It's
They
just
could-
part of doing business, like,
I mean, they're not taking over the beach and blocking residents from using it. It's kind of business as usual. It's just like,
So they're right now, again, what we're saying is that it's the beach chairs are really, the chairs are actually assigned to the Sunset Beach. They're really reserved for their guests unless you come and ask for them, right? Okay, and I didn't know that, okay? I thought that was open to everyone, okay? And it would be exactly the same thing. I'm just asking about the venue of, could this possibly move into a different venue, okay? And how does the board feel about it? They're feeling it's the entitlement of the Sunset Beach people that they have the right to do what they want with their beach chairs? I mean, if it's a regular beach chair, it doesn't advertise anything, it's just a regular color, okay? I'm just talking in terms of merchandising or doing business on a beach, on a town beach.
I mean, my personal concern would come into play if the party moved onto the beach and other people using the beach were disturbed or blocked. And from the way that it's being described, it's really just business as usual, which has worked. And so unless the party comes out onto the sand, I'm not that concerned.
Do you have concerns?
I have not paid much attention to Sunset Beach, and I don't know, is there food service, is there alcohol service on the beach?
alcohol's not
Well,
allowed.
people walk down with their stuff. Okay, it's just that I know that the chairs that are there now seem to be up towards the front. It's not taking over the entire beachfront like this photograph shows. And this is not, these are, I just counted them, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There are 12 of them here, okay? It just looks like it is, it like, looks like a takeover of the beach. That's when you look at the photograph, it's not, I'm just making a comment, guys, okay?
Yeah, no, it's a mock-up of what it could look like, but, you know, Manolo explained the process. They'd start with 4 chairs or 4 umbrellas, and then if they needed more throughout the day, they'd add more. If they don't need them, they take them away. It's the same process they do now. So, I mean, you drive down there, you don't see 40 orange chairs and 40
So not
umbrellas. So,
everyone.
right, so I mean, if it's business as usual, just done in a different color, I don't see a problem with it.
To respond to you, when was the Chanel, 2 years ago?
2 or 3 years
It
ago.
was something like that. I don't think there's been anything since then.
Yeah,
No.
it's like 4 or
It's
5 years.
2019.
But I would be concerned if this became a happening throughout the summer. I just would. It would intimidate people from using the beach, the residents. So to answer your question, I would be concerned about that.
That's the only thing that I think about all the time is how does this grow into something different?
Yes.
Okay, and you know, we tend to say it's not precedent, okay, but sometimes when you mentioned the earlier one, it was done before. So, you know, I'm just thinking of what's the worst condition, okay? If everything's been fine, great, but then when we go further down the road, I think it's just the thought, I'm just asking the question because we don't have this on any other public beach.
No, you said
But they have rights because they have the easement rights to the beach. The beach is owned by the town, and we're allowing them to have, it's written in the contract or in the deed, I guess, that they have access to it. And I get a little, you know, it's just one of doing business or commercializing the beach, and what impact is this on the public? That's the only thing I bring up.
So then is there a direction that you want to take on this other than approving it? Like I'm asking, is there an action you want to take instead of the action that we were sort of going with?
Maybe just to inform the
Or-
public. You're just informing the public?
Yeah, I'm informing the board, okay, that, you know, I don't think these things ever go away. They always come back, and they come back in some format, okay? If it's not today, just saying in the future, we just have to be alert to what we have going on.
Manolo, you said the Chanel event was 2019?
That's correct.
It was
Yes.
that long ago? Wow. I mean, I blocked it out of my mind because it was a traumatic event for me.
Pre-COVID.
It was pre-COVID, yeah.
I mean, I remember it very clearly myself, but yes, the previous event that we did of this type of nature was in 2019.
And
And let me
just to-
assure you, in doing the work at Sunset Beach, we essentially have 16 weeks that consist of our season, and doing this type of work is a lot of added stuff. We enjoy from time to time to have a good partner of doing something out of the ordinary, but the intention of Sunset Beach is to be Sunset Beach for 16 great weeks of the summer.
Jim Reed, you're on the line, right?
Yes.
Is this anything abnormal here, what I'm talking about? or
No,
am
I think if you went down to Sunset Beach on a busy day in July, you would see, and Gordon, I am with you and the rest of the town board, and sorry, Christopher, when I saw the word takeover, it set me back a little bit. And so if you take that out of the equation and they're simply changing colors and going to do what they normally do, I don't think we'll notice a net change. You'll just see different colors down there. I would tell you that the Sunset meets with us annually to go over their plans for the summer. It's a give and take conversation, and you know, from drinking on the beach to noise to other concerns that the municipality has. They've, so to speak, partnered with us to make sure that they can operate their business and we can protect our residents and our resident access to the beach. And Manolo's developed a pretty good plan of putting out chairs and umbrellas as they go. And I would expect the same thing out of this. So if we see a problem on that day, we will absolutely talk to them. So we don't want to lose public rights to the place. And I think Sunset is trying to do good business with the town. So I don't see this.
Jim, do you think it will?
Context. The takeover set me back, and Christopher's already taken that out of the equation. We're in better shape.
You think that you'll need extra marine patrols here
Not
during an event like this? No, okay. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
We would only see the need for additional security if they were having another Billie Eilish type event. It's all the young people.
And if Billie Eilish came back today, it would be a different animal.
Yeah, exactly. Although our daughters knew who she was.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I was going out to the public. Any questions from the public? Okay, we will put this on for resolution on June 30th.
I don't know if they need a permit though.
True.
I don't see where they would need a
Let's,
permit.
yeah, I mean,
Just to change of colors.
More of just a heads up.
yeah,
Right.
although, I mean, it just highlights, like, I think we can just draft it in a way, just so it's,
Yeah, for the record,
exactly.
we should have a resolution saying we understand what's going on and we've talked to them, they've talked to us, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like just close the loop on this.
Yeah.
Since we did ask them to fill out the permit.
Will do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Administrative wetlands review. So I understand that this came out of last week's wetlands subcommittee review. So that's Albert and Meg. I'll let one of the two of you take this on.
Yeah. So we were looking at the wetlands code. So we're trying to do revisions and address some of the vagaries and inconsistencies that make it really hard to enforce part of the wetlands code. And what we realized is that there are some things that could be done in a shorter administrative review because the attempt there is just to bring things into compliance. So there's like some simple things. And if you look at the chart, things like, demolition to remove things from the wetlands area could be an administrative permit. And the thought is that what we can do is create a policy document, essentially like a checklist of review that the building inspector can go through that also has a list of recommendations for remediation or mitigation of that action. So for example, if it's let's say you're demolishing an old shed and taking it out of the wetlands, part of the condition of that administrative permit would be a revegetation plan for that area, something like that, and work with Teresa on coming up with policy and procedure for how to handle some of these. Because some of them, may not require a full wetlands review. They're not necessarily going to be larger structures. Another thing was like fences, for example. Fences in the wetlands area, you want someone to be able to put an eye on them because fencing is actually regulated by the DEC. So then if the building inspector can also go over that in their review, then at least it's done in accordance with the code. Another one is boardwalks, like slightly elevated boardwalks. In talking with Teresa Mason, she said that, they would actually prefer a raised boardwalk over a like permeable pathway that someone's trudging through the wetlands area, because if you have an elevated boardwalk, then you still have a whole ecosystem underneath that boardwalk. So there's a couple things that in the review, it was requiring like a really long review and like a long time consuming expensive process for things that might just be, it may not require such an in-depth review. So we were thinking of trying to establish some kind of administrative review with policy documents and standards for that review. So it's consistently done every time with pretty standard and consistent, mitigations. So before we went and kind of tried to add this kind of concept into the wetlands code, we wanted to see how the rest of the board felt about it before we went and did all the legwork to try to incorporate it.
And we have bumped into this problem a number of times, where there's whatever activity that's either short, temporary, or just not permanent.
Right.
And it still gets sucked into the full wetlands review that takes months. And, I mean, I've only skimmed through it, 'cause it came in, last night?
Yeah.
But I like the effort to have it make more sense, and looking forward to more
we should-
in-depth study.
Okay, so we should try to flesh it out more and incorporate it as a concept into the, okay.
I guess, Albert, you're on the subcommittee, so.
I'm questioning the H on the building inspector may extend administrative for up to 3 years.
Oh,
Or is
that's
it
like-
3 years?
Yeah, that we can adjust.
Yeah.
That's fine. Because an administrative wetlands permit should be for, quick turnaround type of thing, so you shouldn't need a large extension on it.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And the last item in the table, should that be an APR?
I mean, it
Event
can
fence?
be, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's all up for discussion,
Yeah.
it's just, it's just more the concept, if we're cool with keeping the concept of some kind of administrative review, then we'll work it into the code.
No, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I just want to get
You know,
everybody
I
on
mean,
board before we go.
what we're
through all the
doing
work.
here is, yeah.
Pardon?
I'm fine.
You're good with that?
I did have a question.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a full wetlands permit application or a modified something different?
We would come up with a modified application for administrative review. And then if the building inspector felt like it was a bigger ask and it required a full wetlands permit, he could just kick it to a full wetlands permit and say, reapply under a full permit. So the intention is for small things that help people get into compliance to make it easier to do the right thing and get in compliance with the code. That's like the intention of it. And to make it easier for people to do the things that are less impactful to the environment rather than some of the things that are more detrimental.
And I take it the building department is on board with this?
Yes, Reed was part of the discussion.
And you gave us, I don't know if this is like, I pulled the old wetlands
Mhm.
and activities that require things.
Yeah,
and
that's
this
from the
is-
new version.
Okay.
So there are some changes and you'll see that the causeway is not in there.
But I just, since you gave me more than intention for this discussion. I see temporary irrigation and long-term irrigation. So a permit is required for temporary irrigation, but not for long-term irrigation. Is that because
Because
it falls
the
under?
no is it's not allowed.
Okay,
Right.
got it, okay.
So,
Oh, and
temporary
not
irrigation
NPR, okay.
is specifically for
Got it.
establishing new vegetation. So if someone has a vegetation plan as part of their project, they can have some temporary irrigation to get the shrubs and plantings established, but it's a short-term permit that the building department would follow up on and have them remove all that irrigation. But long-term irrigation is just not allowed in the wetlands area.
Okay,
So-
I misread that. when I
Yeah,
looked at it.
it's, the NPR is no permit required.
Mhm.
The no is it's not allowed. The PR is permit required, and then the APR is administrative permit required.
This is Steve. May I ask a question?
Yes.
Normally, a denial from the building department may be appealed to the zoning board of appeals. I wonder if the town board would prefer that appeals of an administrative wetland application went to the town board. I'm sorry, appeals of a denial of administrative wetland application went to the town board instead of the zoning board of appeals.
Yeah, we could do that.
Although,
Who's denying it in the first
whoever,
place?
it would be the building inspector who would deny an administrative wetlands permit, which then sends it to full wetlands permit. I would think that because we are the ones who issue wetlands permit, so DEA doesn't,
Right,
that we would keep it with us.
right. I would say us or whoever takes over wetlands.
So the denial of the administrative permit comes to us, and if we continue to deny it, they still can put in a full wetlands application.
Correct.
Yes, yeah. Actually, right now, we don't even have an appeal process. We just have a denial straight to wetlands full.
Right.
And if there's no appeal process, that means the next step for a disappointed applicant is an Article 78 petition. Might be better to have an administrative review.
Mhm.
Good suggestion.
Okay, good. The only other thing is when you made the comment about bulkhead not part of a dock, or boardwalk not part of a dock being an administrative review, why would we not put walkways in there if we're kind of tying the two of them, you know, like
Yeah.
if the rationale is, like, why not have walkways
I
also
would
be
put both of
APR?
them in there too, yeah.
Any other questions from the table?
No, we'll incorporate this into the version of the wetlands code we have going and make some of those tweaks and we'll get you a full version hopefully soon.
All right. That will be subject to a future public hearing. And get the board comments. And we're on to board member reports.
Well, one thing I can briefly talk about, not necessarily board member report, is the EMS annual party.
Awards dinner?
The awards dinner, whatever it was, happened this weekend. It was held at Shelter Island Yacht Club. Gordon, Albert, and Meg were there, and I was there. Amber was on vacation. So we almost had the full board there. But Amber was on a boat, so I think she gets a point for that anyway. In my opinion, it was a lovely event. It was a huge success. Everybody had a good time, and it was really nice to honor the members of the EMS crew, that they do so much for this community and deliver so much compassion to everyone in this town. And it was a well-deserved celebration.
And they save us so much money.
That's it.
Yeah.
And well, speaking on behalf of the Yacht Club was thrilled and honored to be able to host it for them and do their part in honoring the EMS crew.
Thank you.
Ken was there too.
Yeah.
Well, we had a lot of people from the board, from our town hall were there.
Yeah.
A lot of our staff was there.
And members of the EMP that are also working within the town.
Any other board reports?
Don't have anything.
Did I miss the intermunicipal agreement?
I took that off because there have been changes made by other towns, and so the draft that I was going to circulate has changed, and we have a meeting, the 5 East End Town Supervisors and the Greenport Mayor, who's representing all of the villages, to review that on Friday.
Great.
So I will-
Perhaps if we can have a conversation about it tomorrow? That would-
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
great.
I was going to reach out to you because I
Great.
understand that you had some comments on that draft, so
Right.
I'd like to get those to take on Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing I'd like to talk about a little bit, okay, is we obviously had a WAC meeting, okay, and a couple of items got brought up, okay, which I think they're going to present to us in terms of enforcement and the mobile sign, but I think that'll take care of itself. I really want to spend a minute on the center triangle, or actually the center municipal buildings, okay, in our drive to get our septics under control and to do the water, okay? I'm not really happy at the pace that we're moving at. Our task force has had probably 2 meetings, okay? And I am looking to I'd like to have some kind of timelines in terms of when we can get things accomplished. So I would like to expand this task force to include other members of our community, okay, who are well-versed well-versed with the septics and water, and have a little bit more of a sense of urgency to get the septics in the municipal buildings under control. On that basis, I would like to, I'd like to make, I don't know whether this is the correct format or whatever, but a motion to expand a committee, which basically, or task force really is basically 3 people. It's Meg Larson, myself, and Joe Fenora. But I would like to expand that task force, okay? And again, I would like to have regular meetings and really have some kind of a sense of urgency of getting something in place. I know that at the WAC, there was a question asked of what's our plan and what the time frames are. And I obviously did not sit well with me, the length of time, and I'm not so concerned about the implementation as much as having a plan and something in place that we can work from. I mean, I think, from the beginning of the year, it was one of the priorities that I felt the septics in the center played a role to clean up our water, our septics here. We're asking other people to take care of theirs. And I think if we expand this group a little bit and have more participation from people who have been working on it, I think we can move this along faster. But I think we really have to, I think it should be a real priority. And I think we should have deadlines that we need to meet.
So we have been meeting and we have been working on the plans. What exactly is it that you're looking to see that you're not getting? Because part of what we're trying to do is pick the right path, right? So it's a very complicated area that we're trying to work in. We have wells, septic systems, setbacks, we're going to need variances depending on the path we pick, right? So in order to pick a direction, there are other facts that we need to have, other understandings we need to know. Like we need to be able to cross off the list whether or not Sachem's Woods is a viable source for potable water for the town buildings. That's something that's going to determine how we design moving forward. The reason why we went and did the whole study that Lombardo did about the septic systems was because it's such a complex situation. And if you read the whole report, he explains the complexity up here and why the best choice at the time was to move it off-site. So that was like an optimal option, was to move it off-site because on-site was too complicated. So if we're going back to the table, we're going to try to figure out how to site it here, then we need to do a lot more digging and we need to make some decisions on how we're going to do the water, how we're going to do wastewater. Are we going to try to do individual buildings or are we going to try to consolidate it into one? These are all things that we're trying to work through in this committee. So either you're not understanding what's happening in the committee meetings.
Obviously, I'm not understanding this, okay, because we have not made I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Continue.
No, it's okay. You've already interrupted me. Keep going.
How many meetings have we had?
2.
Yes, okay, and what month is this?
But what is it that you expect to accomplish in 2 meetings?
What have you accomplished?
Can I ask you guys, what did you do last week?
More that, why haven't there been more meetings?
Well, no, my question is,
But
what did you
no.
guys do last week? Like, what's the report from that subcommittee meeting last week? Like, what did you accomplish?
Okay, what
guys
accomplished last week, okay, is that we have We have some of the surveys. We're looking for basically, we're looking to sit down, and you can't do this in a 1 hour session, okay? And I don't have all the answers, and neither do you, okay? So the issue is, I think that by bringing other people in, I think it will help clarify. It's not like I don't understand. You make it, let me finish. I did listen to you, okay? So this whole thing of, we keep going back to Sachem Woods. I come to the table with a blank slate, okay? I don't even talk about Sachem Woods, which you continuously talk about in terms of public water, okay? I'm looking for the solutions, okay? And Joe also indicated that he doesn't have the expertise if there are bigger systems that are required. Is that correct? Okay,
Yes.
and so we're going into July, and all I'm looking for is a sketch and to sit down and say, hey, the deal that I was looking for is the data, okay? And, you continue to go down this road over variances, okay? And yet we have never really applied for a variance, and we don't even know what ones are, at least they haven't been presented to me, okay? I know the Lombardi issue very well. I'm just saying, I think it's more than, a task force should be more than just 3 people. We have a lot of talented people here who have worked on this in the past, and I'm saying, let's bring them to the table, okay? And let's create some kind of a deadline, because again, it's not like it started just this year since I've been in office. This has been something that's last year was a whole 12-month period where nothing really moved forward, okay? All I'm asking for is I want it to be a sense of priority and meeting once every 2 weeks or once a month. And we've lost weeks in between. I'm just saying to you, I'm looking for a sense of urgency, okay? And I think it doesn't take much for us we just need to have a real good conversation. And the 3 of us or the 2 of us and whatever, I don't think it's working, okay? And I think what I'm looking for is an overall outline of what we're talking about, okay? And, you keep getting into the variances, okay? And, you make it sound that if you do a variance, it's not an acceptable direction, okay? I don't have an answer for that question, but I would like to just, when I walk away from the meeting, there's no documents, there's no drawings, there's no plans. Suffolk County came here 2 weeks ago, and basically what they were saying, okay, is we will help you, okay? Tell us what you want. And all I'm looking to do is to bring a plan to sketch out what our parameters are, okay? And I think a deadline or not a deadline, a timeline would be important, okay? I don't, that's all I'm looking for, Nick. And
I have a couple of questions.
ahead.
One is the people that you want to use to expand this subcommittee, are they in-house employees or are they outside volunteers?
They're probably outside volunteers.
So before I go for my next question, Steve, if we create a subcommittee that brings in volunteers, how do we get that set up? Because we've set up subcommittees before, but they've always been in-house employees. So I don't think we've had to worry about open meeting law and things like that. So can you give us guidance on creating a subcommittee that is broader?
Sure. It mostly depends on whether this subcommittee has some governmental authority. If it conducts business on behalf of the town, then it must comply with the open meetings law.
If it's just advisory,
Even if it's just advisory, depending upon the nature and the scope of its duties. The open meetings law has a definition of body and a definition of meeting. And I will take a look at the open meetings law and give you a more precise and detailed answer.
Okay, all right, that would be good. The other thing that, my next question is, what is preventing you to have more meetings?
Nothing.
It's the 3 of you to set this up. So what are you asking of the town board?
Well-
It's really the 3 of you and then whoever we add to this.
Well, we basically, this is, how do we have more meetings? I assume we do not have Mondays and Fridays, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, and so basically we have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I would love to have the designated time, okay, every Thursday at such and such a time, whether it's early, late, after hours, whatever. And that's the designated time, and we meet on a weekly basis until we get this across the line.
Make that happen.
I beg your pardon?
So make that happen.
Can we make that happen? Yeah, I would like to make it happen.
I'm just trying to understand what the ask of the rest of the town board is. Like, you guys have been designated to do this, so I'm saying, make it happen. If this is a priority.
Okay, so we're two council people. I don't care what day, okay, just pick a day and we put it this way, okay? We have a problem coordinating times. There's these time things that we send out. I don't know how to put it together because I don't, and particularly, so you, whatever is, whenever you're available, I'll make my life available for it, okay? And you and Joe,
Yeah.
okay?
Who's the chair of this subcommittee?
Well, I guess I'll be the chair because, I mean, this is ridiculous. So
All right, make it happen.
we'll sit down after the meeting and figure out a day of the week and a time that works for you and Joe, because doodles are obviously not working. And we'll come up with a plan. We've gone over all the roadblocks, but I'll write it all down for you.
Well, we've gone through it, but we have, if you had to present something to the board, could you?
Yes.
Could you present, so when the Suffolk County Board of Health was here and they said, what's the plan? I don't know what your plan is. How come we didn't have a plan for them?
Because we don't have a plan, because we still need to choose directions. So what we're doing is working through our 3 or 4 different options. So this is not a small project that you're proposing. You misunderstand how complex this process is.
No, I must misunderstand, and I think that.
I will write it all down for you and we'll go over it in our next meeting next week.
Okay.
Sounds like this can go back to the subcommittee.
Yes,
to
we'll
be-
work on it.
That's why I think we have to have more people involved, because I think it's gotten a little bit too much on the personal basis, and I think if we have more people who have more expertise in this level than both you and I think it will work much better, okay? But after this meeting today, we should sit down, we'll pick a day during the week, okay, where we can get it together, and you and I can sit down, I'll give you a list of people that I think, and if you have somebody you would like to add on to it, that's fine as well, okay? But I really would like to, I'd like to move this thing forward, okay? Thank you.
Like, there's a reason we hired a professional to do this last time, because it is such a complicated topic. It's a complicated engineering situation with the road and the drainage, with the
You're telling everything, we all know this, okay?
So now
Okay,
you're saying.
Guys, okay,
Back to-
look on the back of your computer, at least look at mine, decency, all right.
I was gonna say-
This is a really
Not
important, now the tone is all off. Okay, this is a really important issue, and we should all work together to find the best solution. I'm all for expanding this committee to some volunteers, if that's allowable, and we will hear from
Yeah, I
Stephen.
think it's allowable, it's just the
I don't even know
structure.
if that's the best option. You know, we may need professional guidance on this above and beyond the engineer, is what I'm saying.
true.
This is a very complicated situation, and there's a lot of factors that play into it. If we go about it all willy-nilly and we just do
No,
what's
but
quick
more
and
local
dirty, it's gonna
expertise.
cost us more in the end.
We do have.
You had all the last year to really move this thing along, okay,
No,
so
Gordon,
let's not.
you really didn't. You
Okay.
keep saying that, but it's just not true, because there was a lot going on last year. And we started looking into doing the facility master plan. We were trying to look at it that way because it's part of a larger planning. Putting in sanitary systems for these buildings is part of a bigger
Meg,
plan.
I understand
You
the
have to- Please
complexity.
stop interrupting me. Thank you. So what we were trying to do last year was start by looking at all the buildings that we have that we're trying to work with and figure out how to make these work for the future. That would include sanitary systems. It includes their potable water, but it also includes the basic infrastructure that we're sitting in. Like, we know that there are problems with these buildings. They're old, they're not working well. So what we were trying to do, and what we started to do last year, was look at the entire center complex as a whole and figure out what the comprehensive solution would be. Because if you do it right the first time, it's going to be far cheaper than doing it a million different times wrong. So the goal was a comprehensive plan. Obviously, there's been a lot of chaos the last few years. That's what we were working towards. So I'm just clarifying that.
Well, let me just clarify this, okay? I didn't create this problem. I wasn't with you as the board when you went down this direction. I'm only 5 months, okay? But again, there's enough time has gone by, okay? And I don't want to point fingers. I'm just saying to you, it is complex. And it's not that I don't understand. And I really take a little offense to that, continually going down that road. I'm trying to be polite with you, okay? And I think it's turned a little too personal. I think it would be good to add other people to this, okay? And this is something that I've spoken about from the beginning, okay? So again, we're into almost July. It's 7 months later. I'd like to see something done, okay? And just let's leave it that way. And you and I will speak afterwards. We'll set up a time on a weekly basis, okay? And we will discuss who to bring in that can help us move this thing forward and what we need, okay? Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Christina, if you could just add to this, talk to Steve tomorrow list, the subcommittee on this. I don't have to open up my spreadsheet of. Okay. Anybody else with board reports?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
On Wednesday, I had the PEP local government meeting. That was very good. It was a summary of what happened at the conference I went to the week before, and just an update on all the programs that are happening locally through PEP. We had the site plan review code revision meeting on Wednesday, so we got through half of the code that we drafted. We're gonna have another meeting to work on the other half, and then it should be ready to present to the board. Then on Thursday, we did the wetlands code review. So you've seen part of what we've been working on. We'll work on incorporating that into the full code revision. We're going to have another meeting in a couple of weeks, and then we'll see when that's ready to come to the board. Let's see, the seniors had a luncheon on Thursday. It was country themed. It was really cute. Everyone seemed to have a lot of fun. And then that's pretty much it. That's all I got.
Is that in the senior center?
It's over at the community center. Yeah.
I was noted several times away last week, therefore, I don't have any committees to report on, but I just want to put out what we have for open positions. We've got the licensing review board. We're still looking for another member for that subcommittee. Now that I'm back, I will finish working on getting the draft of the legislation that the committee has worked on prior to going away, so that we can get it just cleaned up. Kim and I will finish reviewing what we've done so far, get that recirculated to that board, and then get it all to the rest of you. But we are still looking for someone to fill in on that. The Board of Ethics is also looking for a member. Applicants must be a resident of Shelter Island. It's a volunteer position. The term is 5 years, and this board receives and investigates complaints of potential violations of the Code of Ethics. So,
And also renders ethics advice to officers and employees of the town.
oh, thank you.
Almost got 2 people to put in applications, but they'll shorten the end.
Yeah, I'm just making a note of that so Coco can include that in the.
And personally, I think that's the more important of the 2 functions.
Rendering advice to employees.
Yes.
Got it. I will make sure she incorporates that into what we've got going out.
Right.
We are also looking for on-call CDL drivers and minibus drivers. We're also looking for freelance home maintenance. Oh, and that's a paid position. Freelance home maintenance repair employee that works with the seniors. It is a county-funded program, and so it includes all sorts of small repairs that seniors might not be able to do on their own. We continue to look for outside counsel. So we continue to do some interviews. And the 10K is this weekend, 5:30, for those running or observing, cheering on. And that's all that I had.
June 19th.
Oh,
It's a holiday.
Yes, town hall will be closed on June 19th
For Juneteenth.
or Juneteenth. All right, make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment history of an employee and also potential land acquisition.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I-